Hey, GLP-1 plus size community. Before we jump into the podcast, please take the time to leave us a 5-star review on whatever audio platform you're listening to the podcast on. Share your story and how the podcast has helped you. This will help us get referred up in the audio platform so that we can reach more people that need our help, our support, and guidance from our doctors. Help us get loud and change things.
Are you interested in understanding GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, or Mounjaro? Then join us on the Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, the groundbreaking podcast helping people change their lives one episode at a time. The Plus Sides podcast is a disruptor. We're breaking down barriers, smashing stereotypes, and sharing inspiring stories that'll leave you feeling informed and empowered. Join us every week to learn from doctors who are specialists around GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro. They'll provide you with science and facts to validate these incredible stories. But that's not all. We'll also bring you the voices of the GLP-1 Mounjaro TikTok community, real people who face the challenges of obesity-related diseases and disorders and discovered the incredible plus sides of GLP-1 medications. Our episodes are filled with heartwarming stories, laughter, and moments of triumph. You'll connect with our amazing community members who are reclaiming their health and experiencing their fullest lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery and empowerment? Tune in to the Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, and together we'll change the narrative around obesity and end the stigma. Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and join our incredible community. Let's celebrate the plus sides of life together because every story deserves to be heard. Every life deserves to shine, and everyone deserves access to expert knowledge and medication. The Plus Sides Podcast. You're not alone. It's not your fault.
Want the fastest working GLP-1? For half the price, Ro now offers FDA-approved weight loss injections cheaper, with results you can see faster. Lose 15% of your weight with the formula from Eli Lilly that hits not one, but 2 hormones to curb hunger and nausea. Weight loss faster, confidence higher, price cheaper. See if you qualify at ro.co/TV.
You know, I think that's, and because of that, then we're the ones that are always kind of answering these questions. So the skills gap in this specialty is so large. A bunch of influencers just filled it, right? Which I think is concerning because we are not doctors. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Nor do we play them on TV. I always say that.
no,
I'm so easy.
we do not. I tell people all the time, I interview doctors on the internet. I am not doctor adjacent. I'm not even close. Like, it's not even, you got to talk to your doctor about these things. But I think if people can understand the language to use, this is how I feel, and it's like this. But most people, I think, especially if they're getting it through a primary, and I think it is better now than it was 2 years ago. But if they're getting their primary, they're afraid that when they go and talk to them, they're going to take them off of it. If they tell them that they're nauseous,
get
if they
it,
tell them
yeah.
they have diarrhea, if they tell them that they have anything, they're going to take them off that. And in our brains, we tried everything, and this is the last. Like, this is what we think, right? A lot of us, this is our last shot. This is the last thing. There's nothing else but surgery. Or if they regain from surgery, there's only surgery, And I think that it's just important for them to have like the right like language to have that conversation. And so that's what I try to do in my lives. Like, here's what I think. Go talk to your doctor with these words. And sometimes I think that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hear the same things, the same stories of patients being dismissed by their primary doctor or even endocrinologist or GI doctors. And it really, it's heartbreaking. And I think it's built a lot of mistrust in the medical system. And there already is so much. And like you said, that people are going to still continue to look for their answers. And that's one of the reasons why I got on social media. So hopefully, myself and other doctors can, provide some of those answers to more people than, I can touch in my clinical practice. And also, I know we're going to talk some about perimenopause and menopause today, but that's another space where I think the medical field, kind of ignored it or, dismissed all of those concerns for a few decades now. And women went to other sources to get that information and treatment. And that's another area where there's some improvement. I see, at least in my circle, that I surround myself with, the physicians that I network with. But I think that space is getting better as well.
Yeah, I think so too.
I can see, I can see an improvement. most definitely. Okay. So when people experience and when we're on weight stalls, on
Mhm.
GLP-1s, what's actually happening inside the body while we're on a GLP-1 and we're stalling? Is it purely metabolic, or what other symptoms are conspiring against us?
Um, so with a lot of answers in situations like this, it really does depend on the person, but
True.
there can be different categories that I would consider.
Okay.
Um, One is that the body really is adjusting its set point, and so there is a certain amount of weight that people are going to lose, and then your body is going to say, okay, this is it. Like we can't go further right now.
Mm,
And then but after a while, it gets comfortable there, and then you may start losing again.
mm,
So that's a normal, I guess, like weight loss trajectory that we would see over time.
Hmm.
So that's not a bad thing. That's just an expected experience.
mm,
Um, it also may be that that person has truly reached their max benefit on that medication. So some people, like Carrie said earlier, everybody has a different starting point, and that's so true. And some people have more weight to lose than others, and they may get their max benefit from whatever medication that they're on, and then we may need to add on additional treatments help them reach their goal. And then I think another thing that happens is lifestyle creep. And when in the beginning we're very excited to make lifestyle changes, we can be gung ho and go all in, but then
Yeah.
slowly over time, some of those habits can kind of fall to the wayside, and so that is another thing to take a look at as well. So those are three categories I think of. Someone's having a stall.
that's a really good way to look at it. So like when people say, because I'll tell you, like there's the doctor's way, and then there's word on the street. Word on the street when it comes to stalls is try rotating your injection site. I don't know
Mhm.
why, but for some reason that works for a lot of people.
Sometimes it works for people. It
It
worked for
does for
you?
you, Miss Clark? Yeah.
Let
Yeah.
me, I, it's not that I reached a stall, but I was
Yeah.
doing 1 to 2 pounds a week. And then it got to where I was doing ounces a week, which is still progress. It's the
Yeah.
right
For
direction.
sure. Yeah.
Right.
I went to my thigh
And
and I haven't looked back. I just rotate my thighs.
yeah.
That's it.
It's
That's
so
it.
weird. Do you know if there's any
You're the
like
first thigh
I've
person
heard
I've
there's
heard.
study data like around it, like, oh, you don't necessarily lose more like versus this is injection site, but clearly we all have like one that we prefer.
Yeah. Yeah,
Isn't it
the
so?
studies show it shouldn't matter, and to me it makes sense that
Really?
it shouldn't matter, but I don't have any problem with somebody, trying that. I mean, there's no harm in trying a different location, and I've told people that, like, because I've heard from multiple patients of mine that
Mm,
if they're having side effects when they inject in their stomach and then they move to their thigh, then they have less side effects. And so I've
yeah.
heard that from multiple patients. The studies say that that
I know.
is, there's no evidence in it, but
Yeah.
I see it clinically, and so there's no reason, not to try it. There's no harm there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about like what Mrs. Clark was saying about like and is possibly increasing what you eat? Like why do you possibly lose more when you eat more?
Mhm. Yeah, so that also goes back to the body trying to protect itself. So if
Mhm.
you're not feeding your body, then I mean you're starving your body, and it's going to slow your metabolism, and you're not going to be seeing weight loss because your body is in a state of like panic, and cortisol levels will go up, and it's
Yeah.
just going to do everything it can to hold on to the energy stores that it has. And so you have to make sure that you are still nourishing your body, most importantly the protein and fiber, but calories in general as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a big factor there.
That's helpful.
Something that I have noticed within myself is
Mhm.
when I went to, I had all of this energy in the beginning. Things were different. Cortisol levels will knock it out of you, inflammation will knock it out of you. And I would have crashes when I get up every morning about 5 in the morning. I would do my videos. And then by the time I was done, I had to go take a nap. Well,
Mhm.
when I started on the GLP-1, it's been fantastic. I've had more energy from 5 in the morning. I'm in bed by 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. sleep all night. In fact, I will say this. I know that they're marketing tirzepatide for sleep apnea now.
Mhm.
I have had the best sleep that
Really?
I have had in years while on this. But what I have noticed now, and it may be that I just need to increase my calories,
Mhm.
I notice now on 12.5 milligrams, about 1, 2 o'clock, I get so tired.
Mhm.
It's like, I've got to sit for just a minute. And then I'm thinking and I'm overthinking, like, oh, it's going to stop working. All the weight's going to come back. It's going to, the body remembers. It's like muscle
Yeah.
memory. You're just a fat girl and your body wants to be fat.
Yeah.
No, I get that. Like in the it's an afternoon like sink, I guess for me. Like
Yeah.
I think too. Like I either want like candy, like something sweet,
Mhm.
or a nap. And I'll take a nap first,
Yeah.
but I can't do either, right? Because I'm
Mhm.
working. So yeah. I think
Yeah.
that happens to a lot of us, that midday.
But
It
that's
is
a
interesting.
normal thing.
Is it normal? It's normal.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I think a lot
Yeah.
of people feel that way in the early afternoon. Yeah, right around 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
I do
I'm
think
ready for
there's
a nap.
something to be said for, like, I found when I start my day with protein, like, and I'm
Mhm.
really killing it with my protein. I've definitely have more energies those days. But
Play.
I think something that you and I have talked about before is that correlation is not always causation, right? Sometimes it's not necessarily the medicine, but maybe you're going through perimenopause, maybe you're going through menopause, maybe you're not feeling well, like maybe it could be a lot of different things. Though I will tell you, and I cannot take 15 milligrams. 15 milligrams whomps my ass. I have no energy. I can't do anything. And I just can't and I don't lose any more weight on it. So what are we doing? What are we doing here? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I went back to 12.5. And I think that but I do find that on the higher doses, and I think everybody's different, but on every, and I've taken all the meds, like on the ones that I had before, all the GLP-1s, like I've taken Ozempic, all the things. And I found that um I never had tired issues. But when I went to 12.5 and 15 of Mounjaro, that's when I had the womp womp tired. And I've
Mhm.
asked doctors before and they're like, we don't really know. The best answer that I ever got about why that is a nurse said, we think that it's possibly because it mimics having you being full. So it's almost like when you get the after you have Thanksgiving and you're feeling really full and you want to
It's
take
a
a nap.
soporific effect.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it's like. That's the only thing I've heard. Have you heard anything different, Dr. Ogle?
No, no, the only thing I can think is, yeah, if your blood sugar is a little bit low, and
Yeah.
I do think to, prevent that from happening, the possibility of starting your day with protein and fiber with breakfast is always a good
Mhm.
idea. So I think that that's a great thing to
Yeah.
focus on. And hydration. I know you guys talked about that earlier, the importance of hydration, and that can
Mhm.
definitely play a role as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
Great. Thanks. Go ahead for that one, Kat.
okay. Well, speaking of perimenopause, so many people on GLP-1s were also, well, I said people, many of us women are going through perimenopause or menopause in the GLP-1 community. How do these hormonal changes affect weight and metabolic health?
The main factor is the decrease in estrogen, and it impacts our metabolic health in a couple of ways. One is that it does affect our hunger signals, and so it can increase hunger and decrease satiety, and so we're more likely
Hmm.
to eat more. Um, but the other major one is the redistribution of fat. So we're more likely to develop fat in our abdomen, which is more likely to impact our metabolic health. And that will present itself with an increase in our waist circumference, an increase in our blood sugar levels, our increase in insulin, so insulin resistance. Our cholesterol panels might start changing. So the LDL, or what's often known as the bad cholesterol, will go up, and the HDL, or healthy cholesterol, will start to go down. We start to see blood pressure increase. And so those are a lot of the changes that we see during perimenopause and menopause.
Wow. And so when those changes happen, maybe people that didn't struggle with weight before could start struggling with weight.
Yeah, and that is so common. I would see that all the time in my primary care practice. Women who weren't having any issue maintaining their
Mhm.
healthy weight.
Mhm.
They didn't change anything. The only thing that changed were their hormones. And so I think that this is a great example of the argument against just the calories in versus calories out.
Yeah.
It is so much more. Our bodies are more complex than just like a simple math equation.
Yeah.
And so, yes, women who have not had that struggle may start to have that struggle. And if somebody has had weight struggles before, it could be even more difficult during that period of time.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, I think it's I've seen more and more people be like, maybe they struggle with 25 or 40 like pounds
Yeah.
that are, and they only really just started that maybe since perimenopause, right? And they're like, I don't understand. I don't understand. I eat all the things, I do the things they say to do. It's not moving. It's not moving. And I think it's interesting to see those people having success on GLP-1s, because I think that, I mean, even though we're like, oh, it's approved for like chronic weight management or obesity, I think it's like, I don't know, like, okay, so I'm in marketing. So I'm always like, today's mid-market company is tomorrow's enterprise. So I love
Cool.
a good mid-market. They got budget, they got need. Like I'm all about that, And I think of it that way, like the people who are struggling in this way with 20 pounds and 30 pounds, like they're on their way, right, to getting over that line with
Mhm.
obesity, to getting over that line with type 2 diabetes. So I think it's great to see all these people doing this. I did not think that in the beginning. I was right up there with Miss Clark and I was judging some people. I ain't gonna lie. I was like, what are you doing? This is for us. Get off. I did think that. And then I was like, why? But it wasn't until, again, like filled with education and knowledge and the things that we get from the doctors on the show that I was like, oh,
That's why you know better.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? I say you
Mhm.
know better, you do better. So yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
I totally get that. And remember, Kim, we've talked to several doctors about menopause where
Mhm.
um, GLP-1s could be used
Yeah.
sometime down the line in the future as part of treatment for
Yeah.
and menopause.
Gosh, I hope so. I mean, the HRT is great, right? But it certainly, I mean, I think there's so long. It seems like, and you can always, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like, seems like when you've had obesity for a really long time, it doesn't seem like a lot of people are gonna. This sounds bad, but gonna come back from that. Like it's, it is kind of what it is, and you might be able to get it under control without help, I don't know, but it's just I don't want anybody to have to get there. I don't want people to have to get type 2 diabetes. I don't want people to have to get to obesity. If we can get ahead of this now and have a healthier country and healthier citizens and healthier voters and all those things, that's all good, which is why it needs to cost less. Soapbox for a different day. So I know you came back from a
There you
conference
go.
recently and you and I kind of nerd out sometimes. And
Mhm.
you were learning about phenotypes. And could you tell us a little bit about what that is?
Ooh,
Like,
let's
what are
nerd.
these phenotypes and how would they matter to us, like as patients?
Yeah, I was so fascinated when I learned about these four obesity phenotypes because I am all about an individualized approach for every patient. And this helps to explain why some people are the hyper responders to GLP-1s and then the hypo responders to GLP-1s. And it may be because they have a different phenotype than what would match with the GLP-1s. And so the four phenotypes are hungry brain, hungry gut, emotional hunger, and slow burn. And you can have a combination of
I
those
was gonna
four.
say, can I have all four?
You can. You can. And I forget the exact statistics about how many people are a combination, but it's a good portion of people are a
Mhm.
combination. Um, and there's even so you can find out based on just your symptoms.
Mhm.
But there is also a genetic test too, which I've never ordered for my patients, but it is
Yeah,
out there and
fantastic.
available.
So
But
interesting.
it's so interesting. So the hungry brain, these are people who have just uncontrollable hunger and they'll eat a meal that has enough calories that their body would need, but they continue to feel hungry after those meals. And those people are likely to respond really well to our medications like phentermine or Qsymia
Mhm.
because they work at the level of the brain to control hunger.
Mhm.
They also may do really well with a gastric sleeve surgery if they're wanting to go
Mm.
down a surgery option. And then the nutrition plan that's great for them is a high volume food, so a lot of like high fiber food, and which will really put
Okay.
stress on those stretch receptors in the stomach to
Mm.
help trigger that fullness. So that's something that would be an approach for somebody who has hungry brain.
Would that be
Hungry.
like lots of fruits and vegetables, like you're like high fiber
Correct.
fruit,
Yeah.
like fruit and vegetable forward, and okay,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
all of
Beans,
all this.
grains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All of those
Okay.
things, nuts and seeds. And then hungry gut, these people are, their stomach empties faster. So they've actually did studies where they would, have all the participants, have their meal, and then they would watch how the food would go through their stomach. And the hungry gut, the food would go faster. And so they would be more likely to get hungry like a couple hours after a meal rather than like having a longer space between when they're going to get hungry again. And so these are the people who are going to respond really well to GLP-1 medications because they slow the emptying of the stomach. They also do really well with gastric bypass. And then as far as a nutrition plan for them, starting their meals with a protein, so doing like a protein starter will help trigger the satiety after meals. And so that would be a good approach for them for the hungry gut. And then emotional hunger are people who really have a lot of stress eating or just a really strong emotional response to food. The best medication for this is Contrave. They are more likely to respond well to Contrave. There's not a surgery that's great for this phenotype, but therapy is really helpful as well. And then the slow burn, like we said earlier, there's not really a treatment for that other than our exercise and increasing muscle mass. So resistance training, making sure you have enough protein to build and sustain the muscle. And then some of that NEAT, the non-exercise activity thermogenesis, so moving around a lot throughout the day to burn extra calories will be helpful for slow burn.
That's so interesting. So, like Mrs. Clark, when somebody says to you, first tell them to come to this episode, but when someone says to you, like, that's not working for me, it's not working for me, and like this could possibly explain why certain doses work for them better, or
Exactly.
why they may need combination approaches, or why they're not losing a ton right away, or why they are losing. Like, so if they're trying to compare their journey, this is a very good reason of why you shouldn't, because science.
Yeah.
You know? Isn't that
Yes.
We're all
interesting?
different
Contrave.
types, right?
I took Contrave
too.
probably 10 years ago, 8 or 10 years ago. It did not work for me.
Yeah.
It did not work for me at all. I didn't lose a pound.
You
And
had
I was so, I know that now. But then the other option they gave me was Saxenda. And they were like, well, your insurance isn't going to pay for it. It's going to be
Yeah.
$2,000 a shot.
Oh
I
my
was like,
gosh, stop.
that
So
was,
how much it cost?
yeah,
Wow.
$2,000. This was years ago.
Years ago,
I mean,
About
years
10
ago.
years ago?
Yeah, it's right
Wow.
when it just came out.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, they're like, we're seeing great things with this. I'm glad I didn't do it. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I tried Contrave, but it tore up my insides. But I get it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know, like my husband tried it and he was like, I like it because I can hang out in my nothing box. I was like, what the hell is a nothing box? Today's episode is brought to you by Ro, a telehealth platform that's changing the game of GLP-1 access. What sets Ro apart? Ro understands the challenges of navigating insurance hurdles and the skyrocketing prices of GLP-1 medications. That's why they specialize in getting insurance approvals for GLP-1s. And if insurance is a barrier, they go a step further by prescribing brand name Zepbound vials for prices close to those of compound GLP-1s. With Ro, you're not just getting a prescription, you're getting a partner in your journey that's helping you access affordable treatment and guiding you every step of the way. Whether it's insurance approvals or cost-effective alternatives, Ro is here to make sure that you get the medication you need. Visit ro.co/plus-sides with a Z today to see how they can help you take control of your weight management journey with affordable, accessible care. That's ro.co/plus-sides with a Z, making healthcare work for you. Check out the link in our show notes for more details. Like,
Talking
what is
about his
that?
brain.
There is no nothing. I am always going. Like, I
I
don't even
didn't know
want
there
to.
was such thing as a nothing box.
Apparently there is for dudes. I don't know. I don't know.
We are a lot
Really
more
interesting.
just caught up.
What I have found interesting, while taking this medication, because there were years and years ago, right after I had my nervous breakdown,
Mhm,
one of the things just to get over the hump, my internist was fantastic, and he was like, I don't want to put you on a bunch of crap. We're
mhm,
going to do something for the short term, and we
mhm,
did Zoloft.
mm,
And I can remember doing a low dose
Yeah.
Zoloft. We did it for about 3 months and then weaned off of it. And there was, oh, it helped with my mood. It was,
Yeah.
serotonin.
yeah,
So
sure,
it
yeah,
was wonderful. But what I have found for myself while taking this medication,
mhm,
I feel like I did when I was on Zoloft.
interesting.
It really, I mean,
Interesting.
my mood is better. Everything has slowed down. I'm less anxious.
Mhm,
I don't jump, which I'm not quick to make decisions, but
mhm,
I have noticed that it has almost slowed everything down for me.
yeah,
And not in a bad way. It's where decisions and other things were driven from maybe a place of anxiety. That's
yes,
gone for
you can,
me.
like, take a beat.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I don't know if anyone else has had that experience, but that's been mine so far. And I found that to be a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Wow.
Kim.
Did I freeze?
Well,
Was
Kim
it a
is
good one?
frozen. But
Was I, like,
yeah,
was I peace signing when I froze?
that's okay. I was about to ask my next
I thought you were
question.
just emphasizing that.
Okay. But, like, I I was like, that's good. Once I froze, I was like, "Oh, I bet that's a good one." Um, but I was gonna say that, like, I remember that feeling too, because I have, like, obsessive anxiety. Like,
Yeah.
it's much better now than it's ever been. But, like, I worry about things, and I used to make TikTok about it back in the day, like, that are way in the future, and I don't do this as much, that I have no control over, and I never had the ability to go, "That's kind of ridiculous that I'm thinking about that." That did
Right.
not exist. And then to realize it's ridiculous and make a different choice of what to think of. Literally
Yes.
not possible. Literally
Yes.
not possible until GLP-1s. Like, and so
Right.
now it's like going back to what you were saying, Miss Clark, like about the choice, right? Having the choice. I remember when I would be eating a fry and I didn't even want the fry. I didn't even like the fry, but it didn't matter. I was like, I have to eat it. It was this, I have to. And I'm like, why? And then I would hate myself for eating 2 things of fries and nuggets and all the things that I would eat, right? I would just hate myself for it. But it was like, I just didn't have that beat that it gives
Right.
me, you know what I mean? And I've
Yeah.
taken all the drugs in the land, none were legal, you know? No,
That
no,
we're legal.
depending on
Right.
the state, legal too. But, it's like I have, and I'm telling you, like, it just hasn't. Oh, my dad heard that. I was just kidding,
When
Dad.
when I when I say that I'm not following a diet, that I'm just making smarter, healthier choices,
Yeah,
if there is something that I'm craving,
mhm,
I'm gonna eat it. I
yeah,
may not eat all of it. Like my daughter and I, we had lunch together today,
mhm,
and I had chicken tenders and fries. I ate one tender, and
yeah,
I ate maybe 6 or 7 fries, and
mhm,
then I was done. I was full. But I've never. I did diets for years
mhm,
where I denied
mhm,
myself,
yeah,
and I wasn't successful with
yeah.
them,
Yeah, I totally get that. Like today my son went to McDonald's. I don't even like McDonald's, but I was hungry and I got a
Yes.
hamburger and I ate half of it and like 3 or 4 fries and I was done. Now,
Yeah.
is that what I wanted to focus on for my nutrition? No, but I live in America and I have a
Mhm.
kid and we eat at McDonald's sometimes and I also have 800 jobs. So sometimes that's what
Yeah.
we do, right? And I think that like something I've learned like too is like there are no good foods or bad foods. They're just foods. They're
Right.
ultimately it is just no matter how we want to make it look, it is just fuel, right? But I do think like trying to optimize protein, trying to get in your fruits and have a colorful plate and vegetables and all the things is great. We should do that because that's a good thing to do for our body and for our health. But I think that it's just, and I have a guest coming on to talk about how the food in this America is straight trash. But regardless, like I think that we have to think about like, and we're gonna dig into it. I know you had a couple more questions about this, but like when it comes to like getting to your like goal weight or not getting to your goal weight, like you're talking about possibly like you mentioned combined therapies, right? You were talking about like especially with phenotypes. I'm wondering too, like from that question, do you think eventually like in the future we may get to a place where like this is the phenotype that you have and we customize the GLP-1 for the person?
That
Because
would be also
I
like
saw
really
somebody
interesting.
promoting the combination of semaglutide and tirzepatide. And I wasn't thinking, oh, more suppression, because that's not ever been a problem for me. It was just noise, right? For
Is that
me, I was
safe?
like, that sounds great because I had better anxiety control with Ozempic. And then I had better inflammation control with tirzepatide or
Oh, but is that
Mounjaro.
safe? It makes you think of that lady in
Well, I
Australia that
don't
that
know. I
that
don't know, but
passed
like,
away from
I
being
don't
she
know.
didn't tell her
Nobody, I don't
medical
think
clinic.
anybody's studying that. And why would they?
Wait,
Right?
what's it called? Retatrutide? Is that
No,
it?
that's a different one. That's one that's still in studies that's supposed to come out
Oh,
next year. That's the triple agonist, but some people are combining in compound versions.
You know what? What do you
GL
think, Dr. Ogle? Is that
That
safe?
that doesn't sound safe to
I don't
me.
think it sounds unsafe either, but I'm not gonna lie. I think that would be so cool if we knew our bodies so well that we could tailor what GLP-1s
Mm-mm,
to take, like
mm-mm.
when or how
Oh,
much to take.
I don't know, but
That'd be
I
weird.
will I will say that at the conference there was a discussion about the drugs in the pipeline that are being
Yeah.
studied,
Mm.
and most of them are combination medications, and I
okay,
think that makes sense, right? Because we know that the
Yeah.
disease of obesity is
okay,
multifactorial,
Yeah.
so
true.
we need medicines and treatments that are addressing multiple aspects of the condition. And
Yeah.
so I do expect that the ones that are going to be approved are mostly combination or more likely to be combination.
Interesting.
Okay, okay, that
See?
I
makes
would not take
Imagine.
Ozempic with Mounjaro right now.
no, that lady who did that is no longer with us.
No.
Remember, it was a couple years ago. She went to
Yeah.
2 different med spas. She didn't
Oh,
oh,
trying
she
to lose a
did.
Jesus.
lot of weight
And she
for her
passed
wedding,
away. She
and
was
it took
taking
her
both, not talking to her doctor, going to 2 different doctors, taking both of them.
yeah.
I don't know, and maybe because I mean, but that's what I'm saying, like, that mistrust with doctors is there, and it's a lot.
Just be careful. I don't think she yeah,
Yeah.
ooh, be careful.
But my point is more than anything is that, like, this person that was promoting it was saying there was a compounded version. It was a little bit of like Ozempic, basically, and like, let me go back to a little bit of semaglutide and then mostly
The
tirzepatide.
tirzepatide.
And I was like, "Oh, that sounds good." But that's only because 'cause I've taken all of them. Like,
The way you said that, Kim,
sounds
"Oh,
good.
that sounds good."
I would never do it. I ain't gonna lie, but I ain't gonna say I didn't think about it.
Precious, precious,
Precious.
precious. That's
Actually
what you
sounds kinda good. 'Cause I say that. I
Wow.
say that I do miss Ozempic sometimes because there was a more of a like, with my anxiety. It just was I really hope they'll study it for anxiety. I really do. I think so many people could get relief from that. Sorry, Kat, go ahead.
Oh, all right. So for somebody who doesn't like, maybe we don't meet our goal on a GLP-1, right? Are there some combined therapies that we can use that can take us to that next step? And is it is it realistic to expect continued weight loss with those add-ons?
Mhm.
Hmm,
Yeah, and again, this depends on the person.
Mhm.
sure,
And I do think it's always important to take a pause and take a step back and look at the big picture.
sure.
And I do that so often with my patients because you're on this treatment that for most people is extremely effective and it's very exciting to have that weight loss. And oftentimes they'll start with a certain like weight goal or whatever
Mhm.
the goal is,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then they'll move the needle later on. And I have to remind them about where we started, and often it is calculating percent body weight loss because when you think of it that way, it's I think a bigger number than even just like the number on the scale. And it's
Yeah.
very impressive. And most people on a GLP-1
Hmm,
on average are losing 15 to 20% of their initial body weight. And so I think that actually looking at those numbers can be really helpful. And again,
mhm.
bringing us back to where we were. And I another like reframe is thinking back to all of the years of yo-yo dieting and even decades,
Yeah.
and how much distress that can bring a person. And now you're on a treatment, and even like, what if we just maintained moving forward?
Mm,
What would your life look like? Like, what would that bring you? What kind of health would that bring you versus if we went back to the yo-yo dieting that we were doing before?
Yeah.
yeah.
And
You're right.
yeah, I know it can be really hard to kind of
Yeah.
have that reframe, but I think it is important to think about.
No, I really do think it
Yeah.
is, and I'll tell
Grateful.
you,
Yeah.
like, and I mean, Mrs. Clark was giving a really good example of, like, being I think she was saying, like, in the 230s, 240s, I wanna say, right? Or was it
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, like, so for me, I was 350, right? So for me, I was like, this is the biggest I've ever been. I hurt, like, once I hurt my back and I just couldn't move and stuff. It was awful. And but that's like, it's a ratio for everyone. I am tall, but it doesn't matter. Like, it's just, it's a ratio for everyone. I think like what that number looks like.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
it took a long time for me not to get on the scale anymore. Like, I still do it every now and then, but it's interesting because when I do, I look at it and I go, those numbers are just arbitrary. Like, I don't think they really matter. Like, I think what matters is how I feel, and I think what matters is my blood work,
Right.
and that I'm moving my body, and that I'm eating
Mhm,
nutritiously
mhm.
most of the time, and I just think it helps me reframe because can I neither one of us are at like what I think most people would set for a goal weight. Like, I mean, I probably would need to lose. I mean, if you look at the BMR chart, even if I lost another 50, which
Oh,
for me would be
jeez.
huge. Like the BMI chart in general, even if I lost that and I got to like I would still be considered or be considered
Overweight.
obese.
Mhm,
Like, no,
mhm,
like
mhm.
obese. Like I would still be
Really? Yeah, yeah, I think
obese.
so.
Yeah. I
Because
would still be in that obese range for BMI. But
because
it,
now
like
we're
you
at
and I
the
spoke
body roundness index. We're
yeah,
trying to
I'm super curious about that because that's we should talk about that real quick. So, like you were saying, I think I heard you tell this before. Like they're trying to measure more around like the weight around your organs, right?
Like the waist circumference.
Yeah, more so than the scale numbers, right?
Yeah, yeah, that has a bigger predictor of your health and health
Mhm.
outcomes is waist circumference, and then there's waist to height ratios, and
Mm,
of course,
Waist to
mhm.
height ratio is interesting.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
waist to height ratios, and then of course, if you have body composition scales or a DEXA scan,
Mhm.
that's superior to the number on
Sure.
the scale, because or BMI, because we know that the BMI is not a great
It's
measure.
straightforward.
It's a screening tool that doesn't tell you a ton more than
Yeah.
just screening.
But when people have told you your entire life that that's the goal and that's the
Yeah.
number, that's what we tend to go from. And I do think like when we're losing weight, and we hit these like stalls and plateaus. Again, this is like probably one of the biggest things ever talked about on the internet, like is stalls. I swear. When we hit these, I think that a lot of times we get so greedy for that pound a week. Like because it's been
I knew
happening
you
and it
would word.
never happens like that for us, right? Or if it does, it stops and that's it, right? Like I think we agree. And then when it doesn't come every week, we're like, what did we do? What did I do wrong? It's the first thing people do because
That
when we've dealt with yo-yo dieting forever, that's what's happened. Is that it's stopped and what did I do wrong and what did you do right wrong? And I think like what we're examining here is nothing. Like, it's if you want to go back and look and go, yeah, like make sure I think the checks of am I getting enough protein? Am I getting enough calories? I don't want my body to freak out. Am I doing strength training to help burn fat because muscle burns fat? Those are all good things to consider for like just a healthy lifestyle, I think. And I hate saying lifestyle, but healthy lifestyle because I don't want my lifestyle to be obsessing about my weight. That's why I can't stand when people say healthy lifestyle. Do you know what I'm saying? We need new words. I'm going to make them up. I haven't figured them out yet. I'm in marketing. I'll get there. I don't know.
100%. I mean, that's exactly what I was saying. You didn't do anything wrong. You're doing all of the right things. I mean, you have had so much success to get to where you're
Mhm.
at a point where you're gonna even have a stall. Like that takes so much work, and you've made so
For
many
sure.
changes that it is improving your health now
Mhm.
and long term.
Yeah.
And so I think our mind is just naturally gonna think
Yes.
negatively,
And we'll
especially
go back to diet culture. We'll go exactly
Right.
back to what we've always done, right? Because it's just habit, right?
Mhm.
We think that that's what the problem is. So I think like there is a certain level, which like you said, I think of re-exam and like I even talk with my mom. She was like, well, I did go up to 5 and lose 2 pounds. I'm like, does that matter? Like I had to ask her because I wasn't gonna be like, Mom, that doesn't matter. Because she's got to come in her own time. You got to come to your own time. In terms of lifestyle, I think this is a common I hear a lot of doctors saying this, and I don't think it's right, but I would very much like to hear your points on this. So, what role does lifestyle changes like diet and like exercise really play in someone's experience on GLP-1? Like, I know people want to. I hear a lot of people say, like, I'm only going to be able to be on this so long, so I want to optimize it, right? By having the best diet because I can only afford it for so long, right? So I think that's something to think about. But I really want to know, like, how much can that actually impact results? Like, in terms of like, is it going to be 10 pounds? Is it going to be 20 pounds? Is it going to be different for everybody? Does it have anything to do with any of this at all? Because I've heard different things from doctors and I'm super curious to what your take is on it.
Yeah. So of course it will depend on each person,
Sure.
but I think that uh, healthy lifestyle, in quotes I'm doing, will help ensure
Mhm.
the healthiest outcome for you and will help limit the side effects from the medication because so many of the like quote unquote side effects of GLP-1 medications are not necessarily directly from the medicines. It's
Mhm.
indirect, whether we're the hunger or the appetite is so suppressed that you're not eating and you have an empty
Yeah.
stomach and you're feeling nauseous because of that,
Yeah.
or you're feeling lightheaded or dizzy or nauseous because you're dehydrated, or you're tired because you're dehydrated, or we don't have enough water or fiber, so we're constipated. Those sorts of things. Lifestyle can really, really help offset.
Yeah.
And like I said, also ensure that we're going to have healthy weight loss. We're going to have more
Mhm.
of the fat loss rather than, fat and muscle. And of course, we're going to lose some muscle, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We want more of the fat loss. Um, I think it's really important to highlight that, GLP-1 medications do not burn fat off of the body. So you're not going to take it and then, weight is just going to melt off. They are to be used along with lifestyle.
Mhm.
And most people do have to, the vast majority of people do have to make those changes
Yeah.
to have weight loss along with it.
Yeah. I think that for me, and I'll be like straight up honest about it.
Mhm.
I when I started these medicines and it wasn't like, and maybe this go back to the phenotype, I'd love to know, right? But when I started these medicines and I heard all these things about lifestyle changes and things like that, I kept saying like, mine were just gone. Like I didn't want that lifestyle, and it wasn't because I was, and this is what I've heard doctors say before, like, "It's because you feel good because 'cause you've lost weight." I'm sorry, but the fuck? Like, no. Like, I have felt good and lost weight 800 million times my entire life. Like, no, I'm not that easily fooled by myself. Like, it's not that. It's different. I just literally don't think it tastes good anymore, and I'm not interested. And if I am ever interested, it's usually because I'm stressed and I just eat a little and then I'm done. And so I almost look at it like the way that I felt about not just food, but all food as a symptom of the disease. Because it was like as soon as I started treating it, I just didn't really want that anymore. So I feel like I mean, I've heard some people say like, I eat the same way I always did, but I don't think that those people necessarily ate bad. Does that make sense? Like, I think they're saying like, yeah, I had pizza every now and then. Yeah, I had this every now and then. But I think there's an assumption because of like diet culture and stuff that those people, when they say I eat the same way I always have because they were fat, that people assume that they're saying they ate French fries and cheeseburgers and pizza and macaroni and cheese every day. And like, I have not found that to be true, but I do think that like there's a piece with the people who struggle with insulin resistance, right? And that this medicine does treat that. It's part of it, right? And I think that that's my concern. And I continue to hear like lifestyle modifications, but ultimately, because I'm treating the disease, my lifestyle kind of just got modified on its own. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
100%. 100%. And it makes me think of, is it Janelle, whoever her name is, who sold that like
Yeah.
food packaging, or I don't know. I didn't
Oh,
really,
that
I know.
oh, that influencer that
yeah,
yeah. That's what we're
Yeah.
talking about?
yeah.
Okay.
And then she started taking it and then she started losing weight. She was a nurse as well, I believe.
Yeah.
And I, I made some content about that. And it was a very controversial topic.
I
It's very
know.
controversial.
But
Yes. Yes, that's right.
I mean, I don't know her medical history,
I
but
don't
I
know.
do think that that
Nobody
is
does, which is why they
an
should shut the front door. It's like, just be quiet about it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but
Like,
I think that
yeah.
that's one of the examples of somebody who, at least from what she was portraying, eating, a very healthy diet, but she
Mhm.
had insulin resistance and then started a GLP-1, and then
Mhm.
all of a sudden her body could finally release, that extra, fats
Yeah.
that she had and extra calories that she had. And so I totally, agree with what you're
Yeah.
saying, that there are people who just have that insulin resistance going on, and there's it's gotten to a point where there's no lifestyle intervention that is going to offset that. And that's
Mhm.
why we need
Yeah.
medication options. And the GLP-1s are one of those options.
Yeah. And I like I want to say too, and I know I talk about this, but I'm telling you, I've had doctors that are experts, like you, look me in the face and go, listen, I hate to break it to you, but diet and exercise is never going to treat your disease. Like you need to do that because it's healthy for you. But I promise you, it doesn't have anything to do with this. And it blows my mind when they say it. I'm like, what the are you talking about? Of course it does. And they're like, no, it doesn't. And I think that's fascinating. But then I still hear people say combined with lifestyle changes. But I think that I don't think any of us are going to say that you shouldn't eat with primarily nutrition. But I do think that everybody my whole life has told me to eat everything in moderation. And like when I went to this doctor, because I'm writing a book about all this, right? So I was writing about when I went to this doctor and I was like in my 20s. And I asked her, I was like, hey, listen, no, I just went to go get like set up with them and I went in and I met this doctor and she came in and she was like, so why do you think that you're overweight? And I was like, I'm hungry all the time. And she goes, you can eat as many vegetables as you want. And I was like 20. And I'm like, that is the biggest bunch of horse shit I have ever heard. Like literally, like y'all didn't get any, you did, but these other doctors, they didn't get shit for education. Like we've had them come on the show and be like, listen, I spent maybe 2 hours on nutrition in med school. Like
Mhm.
and so I think that like there's absolutely nutrition is good for your body and for health, but it doesn't seem from what they've told me to have a ton to do with the weight loss, maybe with the weight maintenance, right? But it seems like it still comes back down to the fact that your body has a dysfunction. Your body still doesn't, the insulin resistance, your body still doesn't work like it needs to. And the medicine kind of helps with that. Is that like, I want to make sure I'm explaining that right. Because the last thing I want to do is lead someone down a wrong path. But I hear these people, Dr. Ogle, like, I mean, I talk to, hundreds of people a day, right? About this, thousands, right? And I talk to them and the first thing they do when they hit a stall or they hit a plateau is, oh God, I need to eat
What am I
less.
doing?
And most of the time, they may need to eat more or increase their protein or whatever it is, like depending on how much they're moving or the type of movement that they're doing and all of these different things. But they immediately go to that, or I need to, I'm not even kidding, exercise more. I need to exercise more. They'll say they may be exercising great already, but they feel like they've got to do it more. And because of the things we've been through, and because of what diet culture has done to many of us, that is where we go. And I don't think that's reality. Like it's just from what you guys are telling me, like I have a hard time believing you, but that's what you guys say. So I would love if you could explain that a little bit to make sure I'm not leading anybody astray, because that's the last thing I want.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess to go back to Kat's question earlier,
Yeah.
because you can absolutely combine medications and
Mm.
treatments. Right now, don't combine your GLP-1s, but
I just
other
didn't. Not
treatment
yet. Not yet.
options. Um,
No, not do that.
or potentially, surgery is also available and can be used with medications.
Yep.
And so I think about, at least I think about, and many doctors now more and more think about obesity as a chronic medical condition.
Mhm.
And any of our chronic medical conditions, we need the treatment long term, and many of them need combination therapy. So, like high blood pressure, there are people who are on multiple medications for their blood pressure, and I mean we don't think twice about it. And so the same thing is true for the disease of obesity. And some people may need multiple treatments, and that's okay. You're not doing anything wrong. That's just
Right.
your disease state, and that's what your
Okay.
body needs to have optimal function.
Mhm.
I think, I mean, I'm sure people have different underlying reasons why they're saying medication and lifestyle. And
Sure.
some people, maybe they are, trying to sell something on the lifestyle thing. And so they're
Yeah.
always thinking that you're needing that aspect,
Well,
which
it
is
is
not.
also a safe thing to say, right? Like it is a safe thing to tell people they should diet and
I feel
exercise.
like it could be like
It's
almost
pretty
like
safe.
a
Like,
disclaimer
it's gonna help a
sort of
little.
out there as well, because
Yeah.
people do also have this notion that it's being abused
Well, yeah.
for,
And it is. I
yeah.
mean, that is facts.
So I
It
think this is could
definitely
be
people abuse it.
definitely like a disclaimer in nature too. So
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that is is a part of it
Yeah.
too. Um, and and yeah, I think it is for sure the safe thing to say. And
Mhm.
I, I mean, I think a lot of that advice we all should be taking, no
Mhm.
matter what our body size is.
Yeah.
The advice for lifestyle on a GLP-1 for the majority of people is great advice, and we all should be following it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like and I think like in general around I can tell my ADHD meds are wearing off because I'll think of it and then I'll stop. But I think in general, like thinking about I hope my husband edits this.
He has
Forget
to
my question.
now.
Forget my question. Let's move on. Yeah, so those are, I mean, those are the ones that we had for today. I just wanted to go back to it because like I do hear a lot of doctors, I think that maybe aren't specialists that are definitely like with lifestyle changes and diet and exercise because I think that they just assume that we're all just like gluttonous pigs that just eat like crap all the time. And like ultimately, most of the time that we were gluttonous and ate like crap is because we weren't working. You know what I mean? And then when we are, we tend not to. But I do also think again, like our whole life, everybody was everything in moderation. And ultimately, like that's what I do now. But I did stop losing weight. But there's part of me, Dr. Ogle, that will always be like, and this is everything I know from you guys, right? I still go, but if I diet cultured the shit out of this, if I do what I know I've done before, I could lose another 30 pounds, right? I know I can. I've always been able to lose 30 pounds. I did this, this, and that. But the truth is, at the end of the day, I don't want to fucking live like that anymore. I have deprived myself so long for so many years. It's such a young age. At 8 years old, is when I started trying to control the size of my body. I don't want to. Do you know what I mean? And as long as like my numbers are good and I feel good in my body and whatever, then this is where I'm at. And there's a lot of acceptance. I think there is a lot of like, I think when you get to that level of acceptance, power in that. There really is. And I oftentimes with my content, and I'm just trying to get people to understand so they can forgive themselves, trying to get people to understand so they can forgive others. And I'm just trying to get people to a place where
Yes.
they can understand things and extend grace to themselves and others. And if they can, then I think anything is possible. But, I'm a little idealistic. I think.
Well, that's amazing. And I just think about like how much like brain power and energy, was spent on dieting or,
So
trying.
much.
Yeah. And now you have that free to do, use it however you want.
Yeah.
And I think that is
Yeah.
beautiful and so important.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think we know how much we're thinking about food, but you may not be able to like really know it
Yeah.
until it's gone. And
Absolutely.
then you have so much space in your day and more
Yeah.
energy to devote towards the things in
Agreed.
your life that are so much more important.
Yeah.
Totally agreed.
Absolutely.
I want to mention, you made me think of this. I have a friend who is now just starting tirzepatide, and I feel like we were trauma bonded all of these last 20 plus years um, in dieting. We were fluffy
Mhm.
gals. We loved to work out, and we were always on a diet. I did Weight Watchers the first time with her. Like we were. I really do feel like we were bonded a lot by being on diets, right?
Yeah.
And so now she is just starting tirzepatide, and she's calling me and asking me questions about, do I count this? Do I count that? And at a certain point, I think by the third call, I was like, I didn't realize how much I'd been working on not living in diet culture. I'm like, this is starting to trigger me.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a lot.
you got to back off of this. And so I tell her like every time we have a conversation, no, you're not counting this. No, you can use it as a guide, but
Yeah.
I definitely these last 2 years, I've realized in how much we have really obsessed.
Obsessed.
Mm,
Which
I
is why I can't stand when people say that because I do think it sends the wrong message, and it does what her friend is exactly doing, what we did in the beginning, you know?
yeah,
And again, like, the morality of making that choice, the morality of food, the morality of, "I ate this." I still hear people say that have had surgery, weight loss surgery. I still will like, "That's all right. I'll just exercise more tomorrow to make up for this piece of
mhm,
candy I'm eating." And I think that shit's gotta go. Like, that's me. That's where I'm at. Like, I just think that that's not good for us. I really do. And so that's why I'm talking about it so much. I know.
I'm
No,
glad
I
we're
mean,
doing it.
guys, to be
I like it.
clear, I am not telling you not to eat
Dr. Ogle.
nutritiously and not to exercise. I do both of those things. I think you should too. you
You're
know?
witnessing us going through our therapy.
Yeah, we're just we're therapy. Yeah. But I just want people, I
You're
think
here for the ride.
I just want people to understand because I cannot stand when I hear people say like you've also got to put the work in. Stop it now. Like nobody works harder than people who have been yo-yo dieting their whole lives. Like those people have the most grit of anybody I've ever met. You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, soapbox. Sorry, friends. This is what happens when I'm with my girls. I can't help it. This has been a lovely conversation. Thank you
It
so
really
much
has.
talking with us. And thank you so much, Mrs. Clark, for coming on and sharing your story.
Thank you for
I appreciate
having
you
me.
so much.
I've enjoyed being here. Thank you so much.
Good.
This was
Yes.
so
Do you feel
fun.
like you learned some stuff?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do. I do. Thank you. It's been
Yeah.
very informative. I can't wait to
Good.
share this with my followers.
Absolutely. I'll make sure that you get clips and stuff so that you can. Same
Good
for you,
chunks,
Dr. Ogle.
good bits and
Um,
pieces of you.
we can all spread the gospel, which is not the medicine, but you're not alone. It's not your fault, and you have a disease. That's, and that's what we're working on, right? So, in terms of Plus Size Crew, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next week, and hasta la pasta.
Before we hasta la
Is that
pasta,
done? Oh, we
don't
gotta
forget
ask.
reviews,
After things.
reviews and stars and
Yes.
all the things. Thank
Everybody,
you.
if you're
Thank
if
you.
you're watching, thumbs up and
Thumbs up,
comment.
stars, whatever it is, we need you.
20 seconds a week to lose 20% of your weight in a year with diet and exercise. That's the power of GLP-1s through Ro. Ro helps find the medication that's right for you, based on cost, availability, and your weight loss goals. Losing weight with GLP-1s is possible through Ro.
Are you interested in understanding GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, or Mounjaro? Then join us on the Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, the groundbreaking podcast helping people change their lives one episode at a time. The Plus Sides podcast is a disruptor. We're breaking down barriers, smashing stereotypes, and sharing inspiring stories that'll leave you feeling informed and empowered. Join us every week to learn from doctors who are specialists around GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro. They'll provide you with science and facts to validate these incredible stories. But that's not all. We'll also bring you the voices of the GLP-1 Mounjaro TikTok community, real people who face the challenges of obesity-related diseases and disorders and discovered the incredible plus sides of GLP-1 medications. Our episodes are filled with heartwarming stories, laughter, and moments of triumph. You'll connect with our amazing community members who are reclaiming their health and experiencing their fullest lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery and empowerment? Tune in to the Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, and together we'll change the narrative around obesity and end the stigma. Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and join our incredible community. Let's celebrate the plus sides of life together, because every story deserves to be heard. Every life deserves to shine, and everyone deserves access to expert knowledge and medication. The Plus Sides Podcast. You're not alone. It's not your fault.